In this video, I would simply like to share a testimony of why I switched from a religious way of thinking to an atheistic way of thinking. Nowhere in this testimony will you hear about a hatred of God. I have no hate in my heart for the idea of anyone's God. Not Allah, not Jehovah, not any other of the thousands of gods. I don't feel a God of any kind has personally done me any wrong. You will hear, though, about a switch in my morality, basically. How my morality has been shaped and then reshaped. And maybe there are some things I don't like about some organized religion. But there's nothing I hate about the idea of God. I just simply don't believe one exists. So now, with that laid out on the table, I will share the reason I don't currently believe in the existence of a God. When I was 12, I had what I thought were supernatural encounters. Due to my religious upbringing, I accredited these supernatural encounters to a God. And I did believe in God. At that time, I don't feel that I really understood everything, about Christianity. I was raised Pentecostal. And no, I don't feel that I understood everything about my own religion at that time. But I felt level-headed enough that I understood the basic concept, and I believed that I had experienced supernatural things that I accredited to my God. But I do want to fast forward to 15. And throughout that time, when I was 12, we lived in an apartment complex. Had some experiences, didn't have any more for a while. So I just want to fast forward from that time. Now we'll move on to when I was 15. That's when I started to take an interest in science. I stopped being a class clown, and I stopped disliking school. I started to pay attention more. Because I started to have an interest in biology. And I would have wished at that time that there could have been a class for me to take about astronomy or cosmology, but there wasn't. Of course, I did study physics later, but it wasn't like astrophysics, My high school personally didn't have a class for astrophysics, and universe, it's kind of a study of the universe, even from a physics perspective, which is what astrophysics is, studying the universe and applying physics to it. We didn't really get into that. I wish we would have, but I did know one thing. I wanted to credit God to everything. And I did credit God to everything. Even evolution. I remember in my high school, we didn't go into a deep, in-depth study of evolution. It was in the biology book. A textbook, you could read it for yourself. But the biology teacher left it up to the students to kind of debate amongst themselves between evolution and God, because she didn't want to offend anybody. And while I appreciated her efforts at that time, as a Christian, I did wish she would have actually dove into evolution, told us what she knew about it, went by the book, to tell us about evolution. And to tell us about the concept of evolution. I wish she would have. And I did study in that biology book very diligently. But I had a belief that evolution and the idea of God coexisted. And partly because I wanted to keep my belief in the God that I accepted, repented to, and accepted as my Lord and Savior. Which I did when I was 15 too, officially. But then the story did take a dark turn. From 15 on down the line up to 18, I did continuously look at the universe, study about astrophysics online. That's the only way I could, because in high school we didn't really get into the concept. The only way I could study about it was online by myself. But we did study about biology and physics, which did help a lot. But I always wanted to accredit it to a God. I do feel that I felt justified in everything I believed about the concept of evolution and God going together and the laws of nature not going against the idea of a God. But I did have a sense of morality that was pretty biblical based. When I was 15, I did notice I started to develop an attraction to some of the other boys in my school. But I wouldn't have told them that, of course. I wouldn't have told anybody. And that did conflict with my religion. That's the reason I said at the beginning of the video. That's one of the reasons of many. I do have a problem with organized religion, but I don't hate God. I don't hate the concept of God. I think if a God did exist, he would not condemn you just for your sexuality. But moving on, I did notice that, and I felt that I had to kind of put it aside and sometimes pretend that it wasn't there, sometimes request prayer about it at church, and sometimes pray for myself and just fight it off out of respect for the God I was serving. I feel that the fact that I felt that necessary to do, when I look back on it today, I feel that the fact that I felt that necessary to do was sad. But I did find that necessary. But when I was 18, something else happened. I started to have supernatural experiences again that at first I called supernatural. But then they got crazy. They went beyond just ghost stories. It became more menacing. It became seeing full body figures move across my hallway, walk across my hallway, in rooms in my house. And I was admitted into a hospital after I became depressed and suicidal. And I was admitted into a hospital for mental health care. And then at that time, it was revealed to me that just like my mother, I suffered from schizoaffective disorder. The severity of the disorder and the fact that we were having trouble finding medications that would work on me to get rid of the depression and suicidal thoughts, and get rid of the visions and hallucinations. Caused me to go into a depression so bad, I started staying in this very room. I laid right here on my bed all day. I stayed here. I didn't eat either. I eat now. My medicine actually has caused me to gain a little bit of weight. More than a little bit, actually. But it's caused me to gain weight. Now I found the right medicine. It's Seroquel, but it is causing me some weight gain, and it's causing me to stay hungry a lot. But there was a time that I didn't eat at all. And I would just stay in my room listening to dark, depressing music. But that did lead me to some revelations. Revelation 1. The darkness became my best friend, actually. That I was in became my best friend. But through it, I came to a realization that people in the darkness are not bad people. They're not horrible people. They're not... See, my religious views would have had me to see black and white, slave and free, sinful and righteous. I no longer saw it that way. And then that led to my second but ultimate revelation that the God of the Bible was wrong about morality. In fact, people can develop empathy that goes beyond the empathy described in the Bible when they come to stop judging people for what they're going through and instead try to understand what they're going through and be sympathetic. Now that's for my morality. That's not for my concept of God. I just gave up my religious morality, but I am convinced by what I've read in the scriptures. By the way, I've studied the original Hebrew and Greek too. I've studied 7 translations of the Bible. Nobody can convince me that there's some justification that the Bible somehow doesn't condone sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia. I'm convinced that it does. And everyone who's tried to change my mind, I've showed them through the scripture that that's just how I feel about what I've read. Now, that being said, I have stated, if there was a God, I don't believe he or she, and I believe it would be a she personally, because of nature. I believe this God would work around nature. And I believe that the laws of nature would apply, is what this God would apply. And I believe that such a God would not be homophobic, transphobic, or racist. However, God is now questionable to me because I stopped questioning science. I stopped going on the assumption that God must be the reality, because that's an assumption that science does not prove or make. Even if you believe in intelligent design, that doesn't prove God. That more or less it can prove that nature itself looks like a grand design. It doesn't automatically mean creator to me in my eyes. At the beginning of a Stephen Hawking documentary about his view of God, he said, "We have this one life to appreciate the grand design of the universe, and for that I am extremely grateful," and I share that viewpoint. But I don't feel the need to invoke a God into it. Another reason is simply that I don't believe that we came from nothing. I don't believe anything in science insinuates we actually come from nothing. Now, the Big Bang is in question in physics today. It's not. It's no longer a theory. Everybody's saying it must be right. It's in question. I'm very open to the idea that quantum physics might give us either new knowledge of the Big Bang, or it might give us a different theory, because that's how science works. It's open-minded, and it's based on discovery. However, as I've stated, it's my personal view that God is not necessary. And mainly I believe that everything has a natural explanation, and physics has done great work despite people's opinions to explain even the nature of the universe through the laws of physics. The first law of thermodynamics is used to question how the Big Bang happened. That part of the theory, how the Big Bang happened, there are other things it doesn't disprove. That we are made of stardust, that the same elements in the universe are found in us. It does seem to question how the Big Bang happened, or if it happened. But like I said, I'm open-minded to that. But I don't feel it's a reason to invoke a God. So that's why I don't believe in a God. The study of the laws of nature and the nature of the universe. Because we have proven we have proven time and time again that even when things seem weird, discoveries can be made and things can be explained. Well, thank you so much for listening to what I've had to say. And I will see you in the next video that I make. It will be for support of mental illness and depression, because I'm a mental illness and depression advocate. And I'll make videos in support of the LGBT community, because I'm an advocate for LGBT equality. So I'll see you in the next video. But thank you for listening to this one.